Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a really long time since I've recorded like any kind of video, and there's a few reasons for that. So just to start off, this video is just kind of going to be a recap of the rest of my last prep. So I competed in November and it's currently April 9th. So yeah, I think the last video I did, I was like 8 weeks out from my show. Honestly, like, get insecure in my prep, which sounds really stupid, but I just randomly one day didn't feel comfortable like sharing. I was just like, I just kind of want to keep this to myself. That's how I felt in the moment. Looking back at it, I really wish I didn't do that. So I did my first regional show, which was the Northwest Naturals, not Nationals, and I got first in my class. I did not get the overall at that show, which ultimately was kind of the goal I set out for myself. But obviously you can't like expect anything, or like, you don't know who's gonna show up or what's gonna happen that day. Like, a lot of emotions came on to me after that show. I got super sick that peak week, and that caused me to look like inflamed and kind of watery, and honestly just like not as good as I know I personally could have looked. But the good news is that we came into Ben Weider a couple pounds lighter. So Ben Weider is the second show I did, which is the Natural Pro qualifier in Alexandria. So I did that show and it went really good. Honestly, the only thing I was hoping for that show was to just like improve from my last package, and we did do that, which was a win in itself, and I came second in my class. I was honestly really like happy with that. So yeah, after the show I did my reverse diet. It was really hard for me this time around, I'm not gonna lie. Hormones did feel like pretty bad, and I just feel like reversing during the holidays was a really like challenging thing for me to navigate, because I have just never done that before, and it was just kind of like scary being around like so much unlimited food, and like really just having to trust yourself to not eat it, because when you're reverse dieting out of a show, like, you cannot just eat whatever you want. Like, you are going to put on body fat quickly. So I knew that, and yeah, I stayed with my coach for about 3 months after my show, and then I am now self-coaching. So yeah, that is kind of the update. I'm currently starting prep. I know, crazy, but I'm gonna upload like photo comparison of what I looked like on show day versus now, so you guys can see where we ended up 5 months later into the off season. Currently I'm about 17 pounds above my last stage weight. Yeah, honestly, I've just been intuitively eating pretty much this whole off season, and I have really liked this for me. I feel like I've been able to make really good choices, even better choices than I was making when I was tracking macros. Like, I switched my focus from like hitting numbers to focusing on like the quality of the food, and I feel like that mindset shift has just like changed everything for me, and I'm not having all these like cravings or wanting like crazy cheat meals or anything like that. It's like everything I'm eating I'm liking, and it's not like I'm playing. I think a big part of this was also focusing more on like really high quality fats and switching more to a animal based diet, and specifically just overall cutting out grains like completely. Okay, I had to switch locations because my camera kept dying. But a really big thing that happened to me after my show was I was just getting hives every single day ever since peak week of my first show. And I'll put photos in, but yeah, I was getting these across like my entire body every single day, and I couldn't figure out why, but I do think a big contribution to this was adding back in grains during peak week, because I hadn't had them for like a really long time during prep, because I was just focusing on like having fruits for my carbs. And then my coach was like, okay, like you're gonna have to add in oats and like rice to carb up. So we added them back in, and then they started. And at first I just thought it was like a reaction to the tan or something like that, but they persisted for like 3-4 months after my show. Like if I would have any grains, they would come, or sometimes I wouldn't even have grains. So I don't really know exactly what it was, but it was really bad. And yeah, I just don't want anyone to like have to go through that. And after doing a ton of research, the only thing that really seemed to help was following this animal-based diet and like not really having anything processed whatsoever. No rice. I had to cut out oats because I think that a thing that was a big issue with those were the glyphosate that they're sprayed with. But even sometimes when I would have like organic that isn't supposed to be sprayed with it, I would still get them. So I don't know. I guess I just became like super sensitive to them. And I know in general for certain people, these grains and like certain vegetables apparently have like defense chemicals, which are like oxalates that can trigger like an immune response. So I do think that that could have been a really big. So yeah, the things that I am mainly eating are just animal products. So a lot of like red meat specifically. I notice I feel the best when I have that. And then higher fat like dairy, higher fat cuts of meat in general I've been trying to have. And then I'll also have things like butter a lot more. And overall, I've just been trying to. But yeah, I honestly just get really emotional when I talk about it, because no one understands just like how horrible these hives were. And it was honestly the most painful thing I've ever had. And when I was reversing with these every single day, it really like made everything really hard, because I was just constantly uncomfortable in my body, and like it seemed like everything was causing them. And it just goes to show like that anything they're spraying on like the food or anything like that is really like honestly toxic, and just how many things like can be toxic for our bodies, and how everyone just like reacts differently to things. And for me, it was through the hives. I was having some digestive issues too, but it was mainly these hives that would come. So yeah, I'm just really happy that now I've gotten to the point where I've adapted like this diet that I know works for me, and I feel my best like energy wise, and I just don't have any like discomfort whatsoever. And it's taken time for me to like cut out all of these things that I was having. Even just like oats or like rice that I would have with most of my meals. Like I just can't have any of that anymore, and obviously that's like a really big change. But I realized that I ever since starting this diet, like I just feel 1,000 times better in general, and I don't want anything else. Like I just feel like this is the most optimal diet for most people. And if you're interested in the diet, you can look up Paul Saladino, and he has a podcast that talks about it on his Heart and Soil supplement page, which I do have. Their hormonal supplement, which is just grass-fed like reproductive organs from cows. And then he also just talks about how the chicken and pork, like you shouldn't eat that because it's fed grains, and we're trying to like lower our omega-6, so I try to get most of my products like grass-fed if I can, and I think that helps a lot. But yeah, the main thing is just no like really low omega-6s, having more saturated animal fats. The government and like big food will try to tell you that saturated fat is like the devil, but I think it's more so, it's definitely not that. Like we have been consuming that ancestrally like forever, so that doesn't make any sense. I think it's the imbalance between omega-6s and omega-3s that causes inflammation in the body. So yeah, definitely don't eat seed oils because they're extremely high in omega-6. If you didn't know, the average American has a ratio of 20:1 between omega-6 and omega-3, and it's supposed to be a 1:1 ratio. So that is insane, and that is mainly caused by seed oils. So yeah, I just feel super refreshed after taking this time to like intuitively eat, no cravings at all, versus my last off season. It felt like no matter what I did when I was tracking, I still felt like I was being restricted to a sense, and I think that was because my coach had my carbs really high but my fats like a bit lower. So in my last off season I had my fats like highest, I think like 70 grams, but this time I was doing like 100 to 120 grams of fat per day, and then stuck more to like 200-ish grams of carbs. So to start off my prep, I'm going to be doing like around 75 grams of fat and like 200 grams of carbs, and we'll see how that goes. And I'm going to be starting it at like zero cardio and just take it week by week based on how I'm responding. So yeah, I'm super excited to share this whole journey with you guys. So if you're interested in following along my self-coaching journey slash like trying a new method, like this video and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.